Welcome to Simmons Says, where I help emerging and struggling writers create intriguing plots and compelling characters to make their stories hard to put down and even harder to forget. Recently, I delivered a commencement speech for the graduating class of the New York Film Academy's film program. Now, these were students that had been there for 2-3 years, right? And we're now looking forward to stepping into the deeper end of the creative filmmaking pool. Now, at the event, they also had the opportunity to, through videos and various speeches, to look back on the wins and losses they'd experienced during their time at the Academy. They revisited the flawed but complete films they made versus the unfinished, unsure, untried scripts and projects that fell through for one reason or another. I think the hardest thing to learn from an experience like that is that we often learn more from our mistakes than from our successes. I mean, once we pay attention. We learn what stopped us. Did we not plan well enough? Did we assume too much? Were we trying to go beyond our resources and our skill set at a particular time? Things like that. And eventually we ask ourselves, what have we gained from all of this? And then what's the next step? Because there always is one. Like those students, we writers, emerging, aspiring, struggling, whatever label fits, we have to take certain steps and processes that we must go through. And we must acknowledge, the outcome of each. We must continue to write. We must continue to submit our works and deal with the rejection if that's the end result. And we have to grow or continue to grow from each one of these experiences. We have to discover whether our desire to write and tell stories is simply a pastime or a profession or an obsession. And then we have to set goals and schedules and deadlines and structures and build helpful habits and routines. And then finally, when all that's said and done, set our compass, set our course, and sail on. Consider the journey of writers whose work feels inevitable, right? Tolkien spent 16 years wrestling with Lord of the Rings, struggling to balance the immense depth of his world building with a story that readers would be captivated by. J.D. Salinger labored nearly a decade on Catcher in the Rye. And possibly part of that was due to his perfectionism and his obsessive pursuit of just hitting the right voice, the right tone for his story. Harper Lee, she nearly completely abandoned To Kill a Mockingbird during a grueling revision period. A process required her to totally dismantle and rebuild the entire book. Popular author Stephen King. You probably heard this story. He threw Carrie into the trash, gave up on it, right? Convinced that he couldn't make it work until the encouragement and the persistence of his wife got him to pick it up again. And you know what was bothering him about that? He wasn't comfortable with, he didn't feel he'd accomplished being able to write authentically in a female voice. See, in one way or another, each year we face is just like any other. It has a beginning and it has an end. And what we do with the time in between is where we find or apply the value. So, take a look at the projects you haven't finished. evaluate them, determine why they're stalled, identify what's in your way, and then ask it again and ask it again and ask it again until you can get down to the core of the real problem, then make a plan to move it out of the way. A year ending is not the end of our dreams, not the end of your goals or an unfinished project. It's the beginning of another stretch of time. And this one's filled with opportunities to succeed, to struggle, to fall down, to get back up, and to keep going. Keep telling your story. Keep submitting them to potential publishers, and keep chasing the obsession, that need, that passion, that desire you have to create, to tell your story. And while doing that, embrace the journey, because sometimes that's as fulfilling, if not more so, than the arrival. That's all I have to say now as we close out December of 2025 and look forward to 2026. Now, go forth, okay? That's all from Simmons Says.